mocha. Told myself to push and never stop. I've been stressed out, watching both these hands around the clock. With my eyes wide, trying to get the panorama shot. Whole world getting blurry to me, answers getting lost. So I watch my back and keep it moving to the front. And remember that the world's yours, do it how you want. You've been waiting here for too long, think it's time for you to move on. Realize that there's real lies in these real times to be strong.
I've been waiting all my life, and it was right before my eyes. Watching all this time slip by, now I realize. You know I've been waiting, 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 waiting. But will you wait for me?
My whole life I'm forever grinding, waiting for my time to shine just like a diamond. But life is rough and I ain't with that funny stuff. I use it all as motivation, but it's hard to have the patience. Watching time fly by might be the hardest thing I have to do in life. Frustrated that I ain't where I want to be yet, but I know that I'ma make it if I chase that check. Yes.
Cause I done seen the time go by for too many years now when the stars were aligned. Cause I done seen the time go by. Yeah, I done seen the time go
I've
by.
been waiting all my life, and it was right before my eyes. Watching all this time slip by, now I realize. I've been waiting all my life, and it was right before my eyes. Watching all this time slip by, now I realize. You know I've been waiting, 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 you know I've been waiting. But will you wait for me?
Cool.
Audience live? Okay, hold on. Tell us before you go, like live. Because I'm working on it. What do you mean, how we go? Good morning. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Twitch. This is Abe Nadimi reporting here from the Kinetic Experience. We are here. We're gonna talk today about love and tribe, right? Some more love conversations. Last week we ended the conversation on money, and of course, naturally, that means you have to then talk about love.
No, we can totally talk about money more.
Actually, the money conversation was super fun.
It was very useful.
And I get these messages over the weekend like, "Hey, I've been thinking about my passive income, and I have ideas." Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Huh.
So I totally think that's a conversation topic we'll continue on.
That's definitely a good one.
I mean,
So
it does touch everyone.
It does.
And I think
at all levels.
Yeah, making sure just like talking about not just like, oh, property, like figuring out like weird little niche things and just more creative ideas because.
Yeah, it's the digging into the nuts and bolts of why things happen it's the part that no one does, right? It's the thing that if there was a whole entire class in school about finance and how finance works at personal levels and small business and everything else, the country might be in a better place.
Well, I actually think that's what I would love to do, like you said about residential, but I think we'd actually talk about different business models and different topic ideas for, collectively as a group and kind of show those models. Anyways, that's for future. Money was an awesome topic.
Listen, I learned how to play the recorder. I never needed to learn how to balance a checkbook. I got my priorities straight.
Yeah, no, seriously, the whole like playing the.
I can play fucking hot cross buns all day long. Don't know how the stock market works.
Well, we could talk about all of those things. So again, today is we're going to talk about love and tribe. Again, my name is Abe Nadimi. The girl over there with the cool new hair color is
Emily Francis.
And our resident
bad boy.
Huh? I don't even have the persona for the bad boy.
Hey, what's up, Randy? Good to see you.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, sorry guys. So
And I think it's super important that as you think about the people that you have in your life and how you express your love with them, who are the different individuals, and then ultimately what kind of different things you can do to make sure you're cultivating the relationships with each of those individuals. So, your whole organization, I think everything you do is based on love.
pretty much, and caffeine. A lot of Red Bull. Our Lady of the Red Bull is what, brings us all together. But yeah, I mean, we're essentially an organization that is purely volunteer based. So if you don't have a solid tribe and core people there for all those tribal members, if you will, to kind of work around, we don't really have much of anything, because that's what we do. That's what we bring to other people, is we bring human bodies to do work for other people. So we don't create a product, we create time.
Are you guys basically in the tribe discovery business?
Kind of.
Especially since you guys raise for other groups, so it's like, who are the people that are connected to those specific causes and ideas?
Exactly. So it's really kind of cool just how it's grown over the last few years. Each big event we have, people come and attend it, and then find out who we are, and I want to help you guys. So by doing that, our tribe has grown around our core, like the core being the original founders and the board member, the key people that have been with the group for a long time, and then just our kind of our sphere of influence, or whatever you want to call it, grows, and that brings people in who want to give back, and we're looking for a way to kind of do something in the community. So it's passive networking, and that we're not ever necessarily going out and like asking people to volunteer. It's we let them come to us, because then you don't end up with a bunch of people that just sort of stand around to get their volunteer hours sheet signed off on.
What about you? Who do you have in your tribe?
For me?
Yeah? Or what do you think about when you think through the concept of that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a combination of things. So like, there's the aspect of tribe as like this nebulous idea of like people that are like-minded, right? But that also can like change, because you really only have like 7 to 10 people that you can really engage with meaningfully. So like, I would say the people in my current tribe, like everyone in this room, that is connected to the TKE.
That's awesome.
Because like you guys, I'm spending like, at least 50% of my week with you guys. And then there's, people from Plymouth, so Sejoy and Hamza and Andrew and like, Frank and all those guys.
So Thomas?
But then like I kind of feel like that only takes up 2 slots, if that makes sense. Because like those are 2 entities that have people connected to them that are in a specific slot of like, okay, we're all growing and building, and these are the people that I grow and build with. But then there's also a slot for like some family, and then there's a slot for like some childhood friends that are still around, because like not everyone that you go to school with, when you're a kid and grow up with, actually stays in your life, especially past 30.
So why do you say there's a slot for?
Because I really feel like, you have like 5 or 6 slots for like core groups of individuals or individuals in your internal personal tribe. But that doesn't mean that's just one person, right? So like TK as a whole, as TK changes and morphs, like it's still in a slot for a tribe. Unless
that's
like
that's a great idea.
Unless you die tomorrow and then like TK dissolves, and then I'm like, okay, well now is it Emily, is it Jannica, is it Robert? Like how does this all break
I
down?
have all the passwords. I mean,
Yeah.
I will be at all of your funerals. Just want you to know that, and I'll be missing you all dearly.
But yeah, so I mean, and then like with family,
There's like a billion people that look just like him. I don't even think people will know.
I mean, no.
Maybe we can get a disease on Sorry.
If you say looks wise, then like there might be more than a billion.
You're way more than a billion. I got that good brown color that can kind of float around, like Peruvian, maybe
I'm not
Indian.
just gonna let any person
Maybe
wander in here off the street. I'll, have, and that's why it's only a billion.
Oh my God!
Just say it. Anyway, so that's kind of how I personally break up tribe that way. Just because like, I also feel like if you lock down tribe to specific named people, you really, really set yourself up for some serious disappointments, because who's in your tribe may not always have you in theirs.
That's true. That's a really valuable point.
Well, I think that's what the difference between core and tribe is. A tribe, it doesn't necessarily always have to be a two-way.
I always think about core as just me by myself. Like that's the core, and then everything else is
That's
the
a
tribe.
wonderful. I love that you put yourself in your core. That's amazing. Totally.
Yeah.
But also because I want to break core up into specific attributes, and I can only control myself.
Right, but let's say Colby's definitely in your core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's...
So that's a real person.
Yeah, but that's slightly different also.
No, it's not.
It is.
Why?
Because we share very similar philosophies. And because we share similar philosophies, we both know that, like, yes, we are part of each other's core, but at the same time, we can always diverge.
It's very opportunistic at the same time.
Yeah, we can always diverge. Yeah, it's really, that's kind of the whole, and that's actually the understanding. It's like, okay, the fact that we understand that means we can actually work closer together than if it's like, well, no, like, we have to be committed forever. And then it's like, that's probably not going to work out.
So we're having some continuing to have sound qualities issues. So what I would love to do is also check so anybody watching this, I gotta tell you that it's been an awesome adventure to learn how to live stream multiple channel system to either Twitch or to Facebook and so forth. And so we'll play around we'll check for that. I think what I love to do is kind of timestamp this and know where this, so Guy from Mars comment is there's like this whistling sound in the background.
Right.
So what we'll do is go back to the original audio once we get done with this and look at it off what's recorded locally to see if we're hearing this, or is this something that's in the transmission side that's happening, and then we'll have to.
There's a possibility.
So many different things we have to figure out there. Because the cool thing about the software that we're using, actually, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about our software, but I will say just this part that it allows us to record the same thing that's being broadcast live, right?
Oh yeah, the open broadcast system. So yes, it's allowing us to record all of this locally to Drive, and then also Twitch is saving it in their cloud to auto post. But yeah, there's like 5 different softwares working together at this point, and with all broadcast systems, there's a little finicky element of them, which is why most of the time you turn them on and you never turn them off. Because once you find a setting that works, just leave it alone.
All right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, going back to this concept. So you were saying you have like specific attributes, and I like that. And I will say that my cold black little heart warmed just a little bit when I heard Stephen describe the kinetic experience as part of his tribe. So I will say that is a goal, I think, of every company founder or the executive team, is that the company is collectively looked at as something very near and dear to the people that are making up the team rather than those people over
It's
there.
just this place I go to get money every day.
To go get money. And I think
I mean, it would have to be too, because like otherwise, why am I here?
it would have to be for you because you link work and purpose and quality of life so much, and some individuals don't. It's like that bullshit I do from 9 to 5, and then I go back, right, to my normal day life. And that's where they super excited for 5 p.m. Friday afternoon.
Yeah. If I didn't want to be here, I would just be playing video games and making money that way. Like,
I'm in the same boat. When I want to be somewhere, I just don't want to be there.
yeah.
And literally, money can probably not keep me there. It's kind of crazy, but it's the truth.
That comes up a lot, actually. And I don't know if it's indicative of certain people that maybe haven't really gone through some of these mental exercises to understand like how they're positioned in the world. But like at least probably 2 or 3 times a month, I'll have a conversation with someone, you know, where it's the let's catch up and figure out what we're working on and like maybe where we can like, find some synergies. God, stupid word.
Collaborate.
Yeah, collaboration, right? And invariably, that person then pitches me on working with them on their thing. And then they're like, but this is a great opportunity. I'm like, everything's a great opportunity, but this is the opportunity I want to work on. Like, I have my opportunities that are pretty much solidly set right now. I'm happy with those opportunities. Like, you're not pitching go direct the next mission to Mars. So like that's not really that big of an opportunity for me to drop all this other stuff.
I recently had that experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, so yeah, just the idea that a great opportunity is not a great opportunity for every person. That's like almost the entire point of the wealth wheel is looking at yourself and what is actually good and right for you. I don't think I'm in it to be a real estate mogul because I find it terribly boring. So doesn't mean that it's not an amazing career and opportunity and art for certain people that are just amazing at it. It's just like, houses.
So millennials that is a big driver in millennials is that it's not just about money, it's everything else included. So that's an interesting, that has completely changed the paradigm because for the individuals and the generations before the millennials, right? I think it's Gen X and boomers and whatnot. The concepts were, here's a bunch of money. You should be happy with the opportunity to work here for the money. And the millennials like, no thanks, right? I don't see, it's not aligned with my values, it's not aligned with my purpose and so forth, which is exactly really what it's supposed to be. And so they're actually forcing the industry or forcing industries to actually now state what their values are, become aligned with that, and then all of a sudden they're attracting the talent. I think it's amazing, and I think that's right on.
And it's the same on the product side. Like every single dumb article that I see was like, millennials have killed this thing. It's like, no, what you were looking at is a product or a service or a company that did not respond to the change in the market, right? And everything, I feel like that also applies a lot to just a lot of interpersonal aspects. Like you need to respond to the changes that happen with the people that work with you or in your life or that you're married to or you're like your children. Like everything has cycles. And when those cycles move, if you try to force everything back into a specific static paradigm, then you are setting yourself up for disappointment, failure, and loss.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I don't think millennials have killed the industries. I think that they're driving home the importance of having values.
Yes.
And keeping with the values.
And
leading with values.
Right.
And it is causing a change in the marketplace. So here's an example of a real world implication of having values and what a mission is. So we're designing the table and trade show setup for Repeat After Me, right? And so if you guys don't know, Repeat After Me is this awesome book that we've been working with Tangi to create. Actually, it's a series of books. And it's a whole movement around teaching the traits of positivity and affirmation, positive affirmations, visualizations, gratitude to kids. And so we're looking at the booth, and Tangi says it would be great to get a bag, of course, so if anybody, whenever people buy the books, they can carry the books away with them. And so the conversation became, should it be a plastic bag?
No.
Which is cool. The plastic bags are, you can get a clear plastic bag, and people can see this cute book walking around the aisles, or does the company stand for everything that's good for kids? In which case, probably going through the recyclable paper route would be better, because hey, we want to create a positive environment for children. So we don't believe the plastic bags are the best way to go. And that's an easy thing for us, right? It's really hard to get into, especially as a small company, to understand where ink is being sourced from and da-da-da. But surely you can pick between the paper and the plastic bags. And that was, I mean, it's hard because it's so easy to order plastic bags.
Oh, yeah.
Clear plastic bags with a handle, little die cut handle at the top, you can order them in about 4 seconds online. And they're delivered, you know, within days. The paper ones, they're not as stylish. They don't have those features. Or then you end up with this big bulky bag versus, you know, anyways, it's a big different thing.
Idea that just popped up, you should do the paper bag in printed and then black and white, like outline, and put coloring.
I love that idea.
Color.
Yeah, just get like a
crayons
little
with them.
2-pack
That's
of
a really
crayons like
awesome-
you get at a restaurant or
Yeah,
whatever.
so they can color in the RAM.
I love that idea. That's a
And then
great
you don't
one.
have to pay to print color.
So Jannica wrote, my core includes, so for those that are tuning in and wondering who this Jannica person is, she is,
She's the
Usually-
one that's normally in the upper left corner.
yes, and she is really, really busy today. Has to take care of some stuff and is not here, but she also doesn't have a voice right now, obviously on this video, so I can say a bunch of crazy stuff. So Jannica says, my core includes me and those people within it are people I do life with. They are my level 10 relationships. I trust them with me. They are the people I hold dearest to my heart. My tribe are those people that are close to me and we share community, but not necessarily a level 10. So that's kind of like the difference as we went to build out the tribe and the core elements of our wealth wheel in the love section.
Right.
So anyways, going back to that idea that you said for the bags, I love that. Actually, we had a similar idea on t-shirts. It's really cool how these kind of concepts are aligning, that even on the t-shirts that we print, we could also make the t-shirts where the kids can color the t-shirts using whatever that like fabric color and paints and stuff are. So constantly involve them back into creation of all of these different elements for themselves. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep. What else? Tribe. Yeah. Oh, I think you were gonna read Janny's.
Yeah, I did. What's the so here's a question I have. What do you think is the balance on focus between tribe building and tribe maintenance?
Smack. That is a wonderful question.
And that like I'm personally like that's something that I think about a lot because like it does not come naturally to me to engage in the same way that everyone else does. Right?
What does everybody else do?
So like when like people like sending messages back and forth or like having conversations about like pieces of life or like, you know, hey, how are you doing? Like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like for me, it's like, look, I've always been the person that tends to come around, collaborate or engage with people around projects, right? Like in school, I was a kid that sat in the back in the corner, read books all day long until we had a group project, and then I would engage with people that I went to school with, right? If you like reading, we could share reading. If you like playing video games, we could share that. If you play basketball, same thing, right? But I wasn't the person that was just like, hey, I'm bored right now, I'm gonna go talk to the person next to me. I could always find something to do by myself. So carry that forward now, I tend to engage with people around business. But there is a lot of people that want to engage around business and also engage around a bunch of life things. And like, I'm trying to figure out like, what is the maintenance of those additional activities versus like the business stuff, and like, how do you guys see the coming together of those two things as far as like a holistic view of the people in your life?
That's a really interesting question. So, is every relationship or is everything just about a transaction in your world?
Transactions building to like a long-term story of success.
Okay.
So like, I mean,
So right now, let's say somebody in my tribe for sure is Jason Osborne.
yeah.
Okay. There'll be sometimes months that go by where we don't actually hang out with each other.
Right.
But we do text each other, you know, funny things or articles or, you know,
Right.
that kind of thing, right? Playful banter way more frequently. There's no business that's happening. It's awesome that we get together, in my opinion, this is my side of the story. It's awesome that we get together to talk about life and talk about business and give each other advice in business, in a sense, and the transactions that we're going through. But right now, we currently don't have a collaborative
thing to work on.
Thing to work on. Other than those moments when we do get together to talk about each other's things separate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like
And then we collaborate on our stuff together, and then
the coffee catch up that happens
Sure.
every couple months. Yeah.
So I think that's super valuable, personally, right? Rather than other engagements which are more transactional, like I'm only coming together with you to work on this thing, and you're amazing, and I'll go backpacking with you maybe one day, but probably not even on my list because I'm just waiting for the next transactional moment to get back together with you. And I think that's whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
I think what ends up happening is that the relationships that are built with really good people just are really good. And those things can affect you in different ways and not necessarily in a business type of transaction. Because business is only, when you say business, is that related to just income creation on the wealth wheel?
No. This is business in like all of it. So like business relationship building versus like, coming together to share ideas, maybe collaborating on like an event or a project or like speaking on a panel, like, figuring out some, different problems that are happening. There's a lot of different elements to that, most of them not being related to a specific transaction. And then there's the ones that are specifically
what I mean
related
is
to
that, do
transactions.
you ever get together with buddies just to focus on a creative moment that doesn't actually tie to any transaction, any future? When I mean by transaction, I mean ultimately an invoice is sent out.
Yeah. So like getting together to talk shop about businesses without, that happens all the time. But that's the other thing too. It does happen. So like there's different groups that I'm friends with, and so like they happen on a pretty, I would say, regular cycle for each group, but some of them are 6 months and some of them are 1 year and some of them are like every 4 months, which to me is one long string of engagements with people.
Sure.
But then every once in a while there's like 1 or 2 people that will be like, this is really cool and awesome, let's up this frequency. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what this is about.
And that's fine too.
Yeah.
That's fine too. I think there are definitely individuals that want to partner up on everything.
Yeah.
And that is I think that's reading too much into something too fast and not allowing enough time to build into the relationship to see if it's worth actually forming a partnership around or some kind of collaboration.
Right. Okay.
But I spend time actually interacting with people at different levels. Give me 1 second, guys. I have some feedback here on my. Why don't you take over for a second?
Oh. I'm still somewhat just sort of, I don't know what the word is because I don't want it to sound like negative, but I guess I relate to people so differently that it's interesting to think about a transactional interaction with basically everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized, I guess there are people, I guess I don't even know that I would count them in my tribe. Those are like some layer past tribe, people that I get along with, that I enjoy hanging out with. But I mean, shoot, I've got people in my tribe. It's like, oh, I got to do work today. I got to do work too. Hey, you want to just like come sit at this place where I am and we'll work near each other and like we'll just sort of interact that way where we're not actually doing anything with
Together.
each other. We're
Right.
just near each other. It's just a way to kind of, shoot the shit and do stuff.
I mean, I think that's a lot of the original concept around co-working was based on that, where people were like, okay, let's collaboratively get together and work on our own things, but together in the same space, before it became, micro real estate.
If nothing else for us, it's like, okay, well now I don't have to pack all my stuff up if I want to go to the bathroom. So I'm like,
Yeah.
watch my laptop.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. So I guess there it's kind of transactional. So never mind, I'm just a hypocrite.
You come together for shared space and like bag security.
Yeah.
That is the transaction. Everything
So
else.
do
I'll buy you a beer. Don't let my shit get stolen.
So I haven't researched this thing that Brian Boyer told me about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those that know, Brian Boyer is one of my best friends. He's definitely in my core, and he is a tax attorney, business attorney, bunch of stuff. So we do transactions together, but then of course we're like really, really good friends. He wrestled with my brother, and I was part of wrestling with him. For the record, I did break his ribs. I just want everybody to know that. I like to introduce Brian Boyer like that at every chance I can get. Anyways, so he told me a story. He said that there's a whole scientific theory around the fact that the only reason people are nice to each other is essentially to procreate. Period.
Well, I mean,
At a very, very, very deep level, right?
I mean, that makes sense if, you know,
Meaning
there are
everything is
multiple
about a
genders in a situation, but
Nope.
like, I can't procreate with Janny, and I'm still nice to her sometimes.
No, but it's around, okay, that's what I'm saying. It's such a core level, so deep, right? It's not about procreating with Janny. It's the fact that if she is nice, if you guys have a good relationship, she'll continue to keep you in her tribe, right? And that means sustenance, warmth, food, clothing, right?
And the chance for partners.
And does ultimately one day a transfer partner. Now, like I said, I've never really dug into this. I've never researched any of this.
I mean,
but it's a really interesting thing to say. Like we're wondering here about going to a co-working space for the sake of just being around people, or is it always a transaction? Because you're like, oh my god, I guess it was kind of transactional, right? Wondering if it's always something around.
I mean, if you break down transactions to their base core definition, which is just the exchange of something between
Could
two
just
parties.
be enjoyment of, you know,
Yeah,
being
so
near a
then yes,
person.
everything is
Yeah,
a transaction.
true.
And for that aspect of the very tribal original activities
well, safety
of
in
humans,
numbers and all that
yeah.
stuff. It was, you know,
everyone opted into this transactional relationship to say, okay, together we're going to be here, we're all going to share the fire, we're going to poke all the sharp things outside and then not die. That's the transaction
listen,
that's happening.
watch out for a saber-toothed tiger. If one attacks, I am faster than you. So we got that going.
Yeah.
Best friends. Be best friends with the guy who can't run fast.
There's Or hey,
That's why you got a bad
you
back
can't
and Janny's tailbone's broken. So I've
like-
got pretty good odds. Then
You
I'm
have a
closest
really
to the
great
door.
odds.
look, you can't stab well, but you make good sharp sticks. Give me the sharp sticks, I'll stab for you.
See what I'm saying?
Like,
It
there's-
ultimately becomes this thing where
Yeah.
somebody
Teamwork
is.
makes the dream work.
Wow.
And then like that all then goes to, oh, okay, let's have this transaction. We're going to make another one of us because then they can take care of us later.
That is definitely the way a lot of people looked at kids
Yeah.
in the past.
Or
for
literally
sure.
to be slaves on your farm
Yep.
or
It's workforce
whatever.
creation 101.
Yeah.
Well, of course, and I think it makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't
All
know.
those damn child labor laws.
So how about yes? And I was actually seeing Ms. Jannica. I was actually right about to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What about just love, though?
I mean,
Well,
in what sense? Because there's like multiple flavors of
well, and there's
love,
like
right?
87 words for love in like, you know, most languages. They just mean different things. Like there's, what is it? Can't remember. But there's like friendship love, or like the love you have for a friend. Then there's like whatever word for love that you have for a child, and love you have for this. Like there's different definitions. So which one are we looking at?
Yeah. What do you mean? I
Like
don't
there's
think.
specific,
I
like
don't think love has different
there's
definitions.
yeah,
Oh, it
there's
totally
like
does.
romantic love. Like
I think it's like I love that pizza. Like I think that means different than I love Noah. I
exactly.
get your point,
Yeah, that's
but
what
I think
mean.
it's. But everybody would say that that's the way we use that word.
Like that's, I mean, specifically like in
Love is-
English is only one word, but when I say I
In-
love pizza, it's not like this. Well, it might be.
So
In this
queer people.
context, actually, it's based on
speaking of, I do love pizza, and I feel like having
Janica's,
some
the way Janica phrased that question. In that context, love is currency. You decide to spend it however you want to. Like when you go to the store and you spend money at the store, or like let's say you spend money and you tip, right, at a restaurant. You made a decision to do something based on your own volition. Like you didn't have to tip. You don't have to go and buy specific types of things from the store. You don't even have to walk in the door, but you get to choose what you do with your money. And in most relationships, you get to choose what to do with your love. So you can spend your love on someone that never returns it unconditionally forever.
So you're just donating it.
Yeah.
It's just a charitable donation of feelings.
Janica's like, nope, love is love.
I told you, like, I was really surprised that she's not here on this topic because I knew she'd be quite opinionated in a good way.
But yeah, I mean, that's,
Because there's sometimes bad ways. But anyways,
I mean, I know I'm highly transactional, so I do believe that love should be returned. Like if and it should be mirrored in thoughts, words, and actions. It's
he's
not
like,
just,
I got you coffee 3 times last week.
No.
It's gonna be at least 3 times this week for you.
No, not
We're
transactional
done.
like that. I got you coffee 3 times a week, so like you better not say, oh, you never do anything for me. Like I did something. Now if you want me
Bitch,
to
I got
change,
receipts.
if you want to change that activity, then let me know what I need to change about that. But like, you know.
Are you willing to grow in your definition and practice of love?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No.
But I'm also willing to cut things off when they don't fall into the definition.
That's when I asked you that question.
So there's a whole
I
incentive
think a
piece.
whole study of love would be interesting for you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I've thought about it in capacity aspect. I'm like knowing that you can't love everybody, and neither should you love everybody. Then
Why should you not love everybody?
well, it all depends on your capacity. There's some people that probably do have the capacity to love everyone, but most people haven't done enough introspective thought to figure out where that capacity is. I know that after doing that, I have a limited capacity to actually like involve a lot of people that I'm going to love actively. So that is a very short list. And then from that short list, I still want it to be two-way. Like if it's not two-way, then like, bye.
I think yes. I think the study of love would be really interesting for you. So I was told the story from a gentleman that went to India.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what exactly.
I also agree with Jannica that love is as much for the person giving it as the person receiving it, but I don't think that those two things are commingled.
That's something I think love is
So-
more about the person
So
giving
like,
it. Because you
yeah.
can't make someone receive your love.
Right.
So it is truly I am giving you this love. Do
There's
what
a
you
lot of
want
guys
with
in
it.
jail that would disagree with you, but
well,
Well, that's not love.
that's why they're in jail.
That's something
Joking.
else.
Keep
But yeah, it's like I can give you love, and what I get from that is the fact that I wanted to give it, and I was able to do that. Right? Then there's a break, and that person can decide if they want to receive that love or if they want to reject it. But that's on them.
but yes, I totally agree. And Jannica is saying, but love is yes. And then she says, I have the capacity to love everyone, and she does, and she's really amazing like that.
Clearly, because she hangs out with us people.
We're her love charity case.
Yeah. We're where she's proving that.
That's so funny. Okay, but so anyway, so this story. So this gentleman's in India, and I hear the story firsthand. So
Okay.
not hearing it from somebody. So I don't know. He was walking around the grounds of this temple, and he sees that there's all of these, all this tribe people. Like I don't know, what do you call it? This whole village of people is just sitting here in front of this elder, and this elder is doing this term, and I forgot the name, but he's basically connecting that person with source, God, whatever,
Okay.
right? And so that happens to him, and he tells the experience of. He's just like, I was out of my body, I was gone, all I'm in light, and all I feel is love. Just 100% love. And then he said, and I was enjoying it, and it was amazing and whatnot, and then after a while, he goes, this feels like lifetimes, this feels like centuries, this feels like a long time, right? And all of a sudden he goes, and then I thought to myself, that's kind of a little boring. He goes, I immediately snapped back into my body. So the statement God is love, right? Right? God is love comes out of the Bible, and it's well known throughout. All of the different religions basically have the same concept, right?
Yeah.
That love is the expression of God, or God is the embodiment of love at its purest form,
Okay.
not with the conditional stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But what this individual experience, and what essentially the lesson was, is that the vast majority of us claim to want to be near God and claim to want to experience that, but in his own experience, life offers us the opportunity to experience love and fear and all of the stuff that keeps things exciting,
Yeah.
right? Versus this feeling of overwhelm, being overwhelmed with just pure love, and that's it, nothing else, right? And he's like, it was boring to me. So I snapped back to my body, and then that person went to the next person.
And there was no ingesting of anything that happened before this, right?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it was actually crazy interesting.
So, I mean, I guess it's interesting you say that because, like, I know when I was younger, I went through the thought experiment of, like, okay, what is heaven according to the definitions that have been put out there? Like, trying to strip away all the BS and, like, pejorative aspects of hellfire and all of those stuff. Just, like, how is heaven described? Like, okay, cool, you're past all the trials and tribulations. What exactly are you getting? And it was described that way as like this pure, blissful, like existence where everything's safe and peaceful. And that was exactly my thought. Well, that's boring.
Like, what are you gonna do all day? Eat food and
I mean, I always joke
have
about
milk
it.
and honey?
Are
and
you going to
dates?
eat food? Like, is this really just like maybe some post coma state that everyone just gets locked into, and they're like, yay, we're all in the bubble, we're in the love, and that is heaven, and like, okay, why?
Well, that's why I always joke about it. It's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to go to heaven because none of my friends will be there. So.
Yes, yes.
That's so funny. Anyways, yes, it's very interesting that I think the human mind, although we talk about it, if we actually sit
Calm
down
down,
and
Dad.
created an environment like this, we would be bored out of our minds. And we
Yes.
actually, if you look at life as this opportunity to experience the contrast between what we think we want and what we don't want, and right?
Right.
That's what's actually exciting. That's actually what the journey's at, and I think that's really right. So.
Yeah.
And I think the cool part, ultimately, is that we get to do that with a tribe of people, and that's the cool thing about having that tribe, or ultimately, the deeper elements, the core, is that these are the people that collectively you get to do
Yeah.
life with.
I was
And
thinking about-
that's
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
okay. No.
I was gonna say, like you're talking about, if everything's always easy, it's not interesting. Like think about if you're going on a road trip. If you get good gas mileage and it's nice out and there's no traffic and you get to where you're going, it's like, oh, how's your trip? Oh, it was pretty good. But it's like, oh my gosh, so we stopped at this gas station. This crazy guy was fighting with his girlfriend in the parking lot. You're gonna remember this journey because weird shit happened. You don't remember
The
the
good-
easy part.
Yeah.
You remember the weird, bizarre, memorable stuff.
It's funny you say that because there is one road trip and there was one specific gas
And
station.
you're gonna
I
remember that. You don't remember getting
very
gas
specifically.
any other
It
time.
was in Louisiana, and
Never
I
did.
went to Twilight Zone.
Like that one time, Miles and I decided to not get gas before we left Austin, and we were like, "Oh, we'll get it in Georgetown," not remembering that. Oh wait, it's past Georgetown that we were thinking.
Okay, by the way,
Ran out
if
of
you're getting gas, oh no, you did not. You did?
Ran out of gas.
Oh, no.
And so we had tennis shoes. We were just gonna go for a walk when this random old guy and his girlfriend pulled over and took us to go get gas, and we used a gas can and drove us back to our car, and it was a great thing. And I was just thinking I hope this isn't how I die. But I didn't, so it was
If
a
you're
good
north
story.
of Austin, south of Waco, there's only one place to get gas.
Yeah, exactly. And I kept
Buc-ee's.
saying it. No, we were even further south than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were in that spot where it was like,
Yeah, I know where you're.
yeah. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we should have stopped. And like, no, there's a thing up ahead. I'm like, okay. Just please mansplain to me how the car knows where we're going.
I've never heard that term used as often as I've heard it in the last few months with that kid over there.
Yeah.
Mansplain.
I do it mostly just to
So
irritate
that basically
Miles.
means anytime we explain anything because we're men, then it's called mansplaining.
No, it's not.
No. It means whenever you
That's
are.
how she uses it.
No.
No, I hear it used on a regular basis also, and it's whenever we value our own advice over theirs, regardless of whether or not they might possibly have experience. Like most of the time when we hear something from people, we value it 50-50 because you're like, I don't know what your experience is, I don't know where you're getting your advice from, or where the source of this advice comes from, right? A lot of times, guys are like, you're a woman, you don't know what you're talking about.
Despite the fact that
But we do that to each other all the time.
Despite the fact that I was
No,
driving from
we
my
don't say-
mom's house to Denton, which I had done dozens more
We don't
times
say
than Miles.
you're a dude and you don't know what you're talking about. We say you might be a dumbass, you don't know what you're talking about, but at least it's not
We'll find.
right. But you can change the aspect of being a dumbass. You can't.
So you're
change
saying
being a woman.
mansplaining is because you're a woman, comma, you don't know what you're talking about, comma,
Yes,
then
yes.
the rest.
Yes.
In
That-
If
spite
they
of-
drop that part,
if you drop that part, then it's like
it's not,
I don't.
that's not part of your paradigm.
I don't know if you know what you're talking about. Can you please quantify this? Right.
Exactly.
But if you just say you're just an asshole, if you just say you don't know what you're talking about to everybody, then most people just drop out of your life. Yeah.
Well,
There's an
a
interesting
good,
nuance to that.
There's a good question here. So through conflict, we learn diplomacy and peace. Do you equate love with peace? Is it healthy to have conflict within your tribe, or would you strive for diplomacy and peace?
I strive for balance. There are some
Yeah.
people I love to fight with.
Well, and also, I feel like,
Hold on.
yeah.
You want to stop on that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're a woman. I think I should enlighten you on that one. That was a joke. Totally mansplaining example. Just joking.
You don't need to give examples intentionally. I promise you give them unintentionally all
That
the
is
time.
not the case.
That's...
I am surrounded by extremely intelligent women on purpose because you guys are brilliant. We're
There
here to
should
like
be
pick up heavy
vodka in
objects
here.
and get things out of your way, and because
Okay.
you guys are amazing.
Here's the interesting
See, I'm causing
paradoxical example
conflict in my tribe.
of the mansplaining / the patriarchal support complex. Charlie's Angels.
Okay,
3 women that didn't eat the dude at all.
never seen the movie, but keep on going.
It's also a show.
Yeah, it was all. It was,
Yeah,
it
I
was-
know.
But it was just, 3 women didn't eat him at all. But he was there being supportive, right? There's a lot of people that throw themselves in that place. They're like, I have intelligent women all over the place. Everything else, I'm so glad that I'm here to support them because, like, what would they do if I wasn't here to support them? Probably go and do the
Same
same
thing.
shit
You're
they were doing
adding,
before.
you're adding the second part completely on your own without asking them.
That is,
I mean, I don't know an example, but
right? No, but I'm saying like, I highly question most guys that are out there trumpeting the fact that they are supporting women. Because support is something you do. You don't need to talk about it.
yeah, that's true.
And if
but
you're doing it right, the women in your life will then talk about how you do it for them.
that's true. But I think we had a conversation
Yeah.
here at the office about sexual harassment
Mm-hmm.
and how it's important for men to speak up.
Totally. It is important.
So
It's
for men to say, hey, you know, in this case, we champion.
It's like thought leadership, though.
Oh,
other
God.
people need to tell you that you're doing that stuff. You can't tell other people that, oh, I'm
Okay.
being the most supportive ally, person, woman,
That's a
to
good
support
point,
everything.
possibly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm pondering. So I think, is there conflict within your tribe? Is it healthy to have conflict within your tribe?
Yes.
What do you think?
Now, conflict to the point that everyone's working towards, kind of that iron sharpening iron thing. Like if everything is just smooth sailing and easy peasy all the time, you're not together collectively working towards anything. You're not overcoming anything together, and that's what truly forges relationships. Is
Yeah, 'cause
not the easy times; it's the hard times that you get through together, and that includes conflicts amongst yourselves and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think overcoming a conflict is where love actually like deepens.
Yeah, because really you can't actually grow with people if you're not having some type of conflict. Because if everyone is on the same brainwave, same thought pattern, then that means
So
it's just a bunch of boring yes people or
Sure.
automatons.
Let me, definition of conflict. So we just really know what it's described as. It says a serious disagreement or argument, typically a protracted one.
You should
Be
put that.
incapable of a very, okay, yeah. Typically a protracted one.
You should put that in the
Oh,
comments.
sure. So the definition is, let me write this in. Noun.
But on the flip side, so conflict I think is healthy and necessary to help people grow. But I do think there should be some level of people, the goal should be diplomacy and peace. Diplomacy does not mean everyone gets along all the time. Diplomacy
Right.
means you're working towards a peaceful outcome for as many people as possible. So
I love
And
Both.
it's the type of conflict, like protracted conflicts over the same topic are not healthy.
no.
Protracted conflict over the same. Yes, got it.
Conflicts that having conflicts around new ideas usually means that everyone's still growing.
And interested and cares enough
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
put some skin in the game to like
So like
talk about it.
if everyone's still fighting about like desk arrangements in an office for like 3 years
Or
after
like whether we have a
companies
couch or not?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
fine,
that-
okay.
that's going to be protracted and
That's
I will never
probably
give
not
up.
healthy. But if it's like, hey, we've got a new person that's been introduced to this new opportunity to work on, a new business to work with, and then there is a conflict over the ideas of how it should go together because there's a creative space to come up with a new way of doing this, then that's probably healthy. Because if everyone sees the same thing and says, yeah, we should just do it this way, there's probably a lot being missed. Or the team is just too homogenous, right? Like a team of guys will probably all attack something the same way, which is probably not considering
So-
half of the options available.
You know what? As the way to link this back together to some of the trainings that we're doing, the question again is it healthy to have conflict within your tribe? So I think it's healthy to have conflict within your tribe as long as there's psychological safety,
Yes.
which is, I completely disagree with you, and hey, it's 12 o'clock, let's go eat together,
Right.
and we can eat lunch together, and it's amazing, then we come back and we fight, but because we know it's not personal.
Right. I'm not fighting you, the person.
Yes.
We're contesting ideas.
Contesting ideas, and it's awesome, and you can do that. It doesn't affect future employment. It doesn't affect a raise.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. And we're all allowed to come in and express our ideas and to have these kind of disagreements, right? But in the absence of psychological safety, then I think conflict is avoided. Or yeah, I mean, it's really ultimately what happens, because like I can't say something opposed to you guys or whatever, and it creates that, and then we start harboring in this negative feeling inside of us that shows up in different ways. So I just started to read a book. It's called Ego-Free Leadership, so I could understand Jannica and Emily more. And
All right, that's probably a good call.
I'm very excited to learn what you learned from this book. I support you in this opportunity to
can't wait
grow.
to teach you all the things that I've learned.
I'll read it. No, you'll read it and I'll read it, and then we'll collaborate and we'll see
She's
what
like, I'll
each
really
of us.
make sure he gets the points in the book.
Or I'll just be curious to see how you interpret things differently than I do. 'Cause that can overcome.
If we can
Alright.
team up to share it with Jannica, I think that's the most important
Group
thing.
project, that's what's happening. Everyone's reading.
Well,
Ego-Free.
okay, so anyways, all joking aside, I definitely need the book. But, and the point of that book is, how do you have, well, I'm only like 20% of the way through, but they come up to a conversation around people avoiding, as a leader, avoiding confrontational conversations about performance.
Okay.
And it was around, for example, and this is where I'm at right now in the book, so I'm only going to share what I've kind of figured out. There's a difference between talking about what's being observed and a judgment.
Yes.
So a judgment being you're not good with numbers, or you don't have analytical skills.
Right.
You can't be analytical. Versus right now, I think the example
I've
was,
noticed a few mistakes on some of our month-end reports.
which is causing this thing, which
Right,
is causing this. So
It's
Or
basically
saying,
I statements versus you statements.
yeah, or the aspect of, you know, we've identified that these are the key performance indicators that we need to be hitting, and when you have been giving feedback or assessing, like, you're not including these in your consideration.
yeah, but it's actually so deep. Why is it the case? So in this particular CEO's, what he found out was that, and by the way, all of this stuff always stems from usually childhood. Because as a child, and it's really, I mean, I've just really been thinking about this, children experience all of these different things, right? And they put their meaning on what happens, which is sometimes completely fucking wrong, right? But they carry that meaning into the future. So what this particular CEO, that's the stories between the trainer and the CEO, giving both sides of what was happening as they were working together. His story is, if you have a conflict with someone that results in, if you have a deep or conflict and you have a heavy conversation with someone, that results in a break of relationships. Because that happened to his parents and his grandparents. And he was the victim of his grandparents and his parents fighting and having conflict, and so thus he didn't want to have conflict. Because he's scared that if he had a conflict, it caused a separation of relationships, which was actually the byproduct of actually what was happening. He's like, everything that this is what you resist, you persist. So in his desire to resist conflict because of separation, he was causing separations to happen, because he'd be so fed up with the person, ultimately, and then be fight, and they would quit, or he'd fire him.
Right.
Ultimately, what he was trying to avoid the whole time.
Yeah, instead of
It's really interesting.
a couple of minor, in the scheme of things, conversations that could have prevented, a meltdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can't wait for you guys to read the book and behave better. That's all.
So then,
So what I'm hearing you say is I need to be even more mouthy and vocal about anything that bothers me ever.
Lots of conflict. Well, I do think I would love that you guys would vote us high on psychological safety. Of course, I think would be a winning thing for us, Jannica and I, for sure. That people are going to express their thoughts. We can argue about them, and then we go eat lunch together, and it's all awesome.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting. I also got something else out of that. The CEO wasn't just experiencing like a conflict of ego, right? Because obviously he was like, this is my take on this, even though maybe I don't know where it was coming from until he like actually dives into it and figure out it's from his childhood. But he was like, because I'm the CEO, my view is the view that has to be taken, but not understanding that view is born out of fear. So it's a combination of ego-free leadership and also fearless leadership, not being afraid to let conflicts happen and managing them.
I think that's the main one, just letting them happen sometimes is it's even just like schoolyard stuff. It's like if you or little kids, like if you just let kids burn through whatever their anger is or whatever, just let them fight it out for 2 seconds. It will be over. They'll get past it. They'll be friends. They'll be good coworkers. But it's forcing people to not engage in a minor way is what causes like really damaging culture and things like that in a company.
Yeah.
Like, basically the whole, what is it, at school, like the zero tolerance policy, where like in the old days, like if a bully was mean to you, you punch him in the face and then off you go, they'd stop bullying you. But now everyone goes to jail.
Yeah.
Or suspended or whatever. And
I mean,
exactly.
same with, and then you also see like a bunch of, it's just overcorrections in a lot of cases, right? Like for instance, we have safer cars nowadays than ever.
Which has resulted in
Way more accidents and way crazier driving because some people don't actually reap the benefit or the results of that lesson, which is like, hey, maybe you try and do 50,000 things in the car, swerving all over the road. When you do run into the wall and miraculously not hit anybody, it doesn't total your car. So you're like, it's not that big a deal.
Well, it's like the thing with helmets. Like they did
Yeah.
Freakonomics about it, where basically like making sports, football in general, didn't really have helmets for the longest time, surprisingly. I mean, you protect your nuts, but you won't protect your head. But then basically,
Definitely always protect your nuts before your head.
yeah, once you put a big, strong helmet on a head, people start using their heads as a battering ram against their opponents, and
Concussions.
it's certainly a dangerous sport, no matter what you're doing, even if you don't hit your head, but
Yeah.
just...
I think it's a level of depth of thinking and foreshadowing what's going to happen based on the decision that most people do not have, and they don't accept. Like, he's really good at this. I think I'm all right, but unless I'll speak for Stephen. Stephen's really good at extrapolating what a decision would happen today and what the next multiple, what would happen down the road. I think if he was in a meeting where they had a conversation about helmets, like, hey, these soft leather helmets, people are getting their head hurt and whatever. What about going to a really, strong one where they can literally smash their head against the wall and they're okay? Like, I think maybe someone like Stephen would have been in the room like, but then they're just going to smash the shit out of each other with their heads. Because right now, they're not trying to hit their heads together.
Yeah, they're trying to protect it a
I
little bit.
remember, man, when I was, I don't know, maybe in my early 20s, so you're talking about 4 years ago, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers, their secondary was absolutely brutal. People were looking off that, getting carried off the field all the time. Their defense was so brutal. Guy in the air catching the ball would get plowed into at 45 miles an hour, whatever, like this 200-pound beast.
Yep.
Yeah, and it caused a lot of pain. Definitely a result of them having all of that gear, minimizing the impact
to themselves,
to the offense,
Yeah.
or the offender in that case,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person that's on the attacker. Anyway, so this is an awesome question. When starting a new venture, how do you go about finding and forming your tribe?
Well, I mean, that right there is very much related to how you are as a person. So I know for me, like having the few flavors of these things happening in the last couple of years, I've narrowed it down to my tribe needs to consist of people that are very action oriented and want to hit milestones and get accomplishments done before celebration. There's a lot of people that I've done business with that want to celebrate first and build all the interpersonal relationships before any piece of business gets done.
Okay.
So, as a small sample of one, my experience has been that everyone that wants to build interpersonal relationships first tends to totally derail the entire reason they came together to do business.
Well, why did they come together to do business? How did you get them to come together to do business?
Well, no, these are things that sometimes form organically.
Such as?
So, for instance, we had the crypto mining operation, right? That formed organically. Someone was like, hey, you're doing this thing. Someone else wants to do this over here. Maybe you guys should collaborate. The collaboration turned into, okay, maybe we should do some business. But once the decision to do business had begun, then the entire focus shifted to interpersonal. Let's go get dinner. Let's hang out. Let's have some drinks. Let's talk about this thing. Let's think about the vision, like all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, but the nuts and bolts of actually getting this done and moving into a facility, standing up that facility, making the accounts work, all this other stuff just seemed to take secondary. It was like every time there was a meeting that needed to happen, dinner happened first, and then maybe work would get done. And I was like, okay, this seems like it's a bad idea. And really, it was a mismatch of tribe, right? Like these were not the people I should have been working with because we did not work the same.
I want to come back to that one. You've seen a lot of organizations form? Because what your charity, what your nonprofit does, are constantly seeing all of these organizations. How are they forming? How do you think that they're coming together? Or you've seen maybe, do you have any insight on what's the best way in which they're forming?
Like, I guess I would say for, like, at Friends, how we pick which charities we're going to make beneficiaries of our event. Someone in our group, or even the charities themselves, will reach out to us and like, hey, this is what we do. We kind of research it. We'll talk about it as a big collective, and then anybody who's like has some sort of feeling about it kind of gets on a little team in amongst our team. So our big tribe, people can like go off and actually be involved in things they're actually really interested in.
So they champion it.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
We'll champion. Yeah. So I guess I see tribe forming kind of organically. At least the ones that I find to have like a healthier, more effective dynamic. So not only is there some core thing that everyone is interested and wants to be a part of, it just, again, I'm just probably really spoiled, but like somehow these little groups that'll, like these little subcommittees that'll form, there's someone who's going to do the marketing part, there's someone who wants to do the networking part, there's all of these things.
So let's ask a different question. Why are you here?
Well, like 30 some odd years ago, my parents met. Why am I here?
Why are you here at this particular location?
Because I work here.
Oh, why?
Because I reached out to one of my core people, Janny, and let her know I was looking for a change, and here I am.
No, you're not addressing the issue.
What is the issue?
So what if we were
Explain to me what you want me to say.
What if we were designing literally nuts and bolts for cars? Would you still be here?
Well, I mean, I do have a background in automotive, so I'd actually probably be good at that. For me, it's I like the work that we're doing. I like the idea of trying to have a big outreach to a lot of different kinds of people. But even then, nuts and bolts have a purpose. You need them. You need nuts and bolts to make big, giant machines. So even that little tiny speck of something has value.
I would also say that my guess is that Emily is also attracted to the overall purpose for the TK.
Yeah, in spite of your nonsense.
Probably because of my nonsense. In your case?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. But I mean, because
I really don't want to be.
I mean, it fits into the paradigm of this is an organization, a group of people that are looking to build something bigger than themselves, and so that activity is that's that defining piece. It's like, okay, this activity works. We're all trying to work toward the same thing. We can grow and build in a very organic way, and there's ebb and flow, and there's push and pull, and like there's psychological safety, but there's also freedom to do what is necessary, as opposed to like this wouldn't work if the cult of personality was everyone has to do these things the way that I think that they need to be done, right? So like, good example, if you're like, everyone has to go to lunch at 12 and everyone has to go to lunch with me. They're like, that's probably not gonna work out.
I'm going on a cleanse
Right.
forever.
Because in that case,
I'm a breatharian now.
it's moved outside of the whole purpose thing, and now it's become more of trying to make everybody fit into a paradigm of what you believe like the core tribe should all behave like, right? Like no cult is created by forcing everybody to do the same exact thing. It's finding all the people that want to do the same exact thing.
That's it.
It's
So that's
feeding
what I
off
think
of
the
a need to
answer-
belong.
So now, my take at the question is that I believe when starting a new venture, the best thing you can possibly do is share your idea of what your new venture is going to be about and what are the experiences that you want to create, why do you want to do it, and just constantly share that. Because all of a sudden you'll find people that are like, I'm interested in that, I like that, I want to do that too, and I believe in that version of the world that you look to create or your specific part of the world that you look to create, and I want to be part of that. And I think that's the number one thing that I've learned is really important to talk about it. And what sometimes you'll find is that there's these, and you'll find this a lot, you'll have these tangential type of arrangements, right? So I can see Friends with Benefits and the Kinetic Experience kind of, we're obviously not the same. We're not going to form into the same company. We're going to acquire each other, right? But support each other in some sense. Like maybe there's a time where we can do a training for nonprofits because we believe in the same version of the world where, essentially entrepreneurs change the community for the better.
Yeah.
Right?
Or one of our categories of wealth is, impact, and
100%.
people that want to give back don't know what and where and how to do it.
100%. So that's exactly what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So we can come together on that, and that doesn't mean we're actually forming a company together again, but it's support. It's back and forth support. Basically, our tribe just grows a little bit, right? And so I think that's what's the important part of leading with purpose and vision and mission and so forth. Now, on the flip side of that, you brought up a point that I'm actually now really been contemplating. So we might share the same purpose and the same vision, but we may have completely different work styles.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to state what the work style is of the organization. So you as a new hire, for example, coming in, we could say, well, we work 5 days a week, 14 hours a day, and we believe in, I'm just giving some crazy examples, right? Like, we believe on posting on Twitter every 10 minutes.
I mean, that's not that crazy though.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds
like a lot of companies I know.
Okay, but if you're like, oh, I hate Twitter, I don't like being on social media, I don't believe we should be on social media, and I believe we should only work 4 hours a day, then our visions and our purpose are going to align, but I don't think
The method.
is going to align so
system.
well, and then it creates this problems.
So
So either you have to defend your position and say, well, by this reasoning and
Yeah,
these
yeah.
numbers, I can prove to you that my method is better, or we're going to say, but collectively, the 15 of us believe that this method is better, and we heard you out and are not wanting to change. So bringing you in, we could have the same core values, we could have the same mission, we could have the same vision, but our methods are going to cause us to butt heads non-stop.
So that was the other thing I wanted to add to that. In finding a tribe for a new venture, build in flexibility. Build in the ability for people to join, test and experience, and you to also evaluate them in like an actual working environment before you make a long-term commitment. Because otherwise you will find yourself
That's true.
firing slowly and killing your company because of people that seem really, really good until 3 months in.
But that's why I think what I've never done in the past and I've never experienced in the past is like, hey, these are the methods of working here.
Right. So the whole expectation setting thing. Yeah.
Right, and I think it's like,
But even
these are our core values. I mean, day one, you saw that piece of paper on the walls, like these are our community agreements, these are our core values.
But most people will also misstate or misassess how important those things are to them until they get into something.
Absolutely, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, as I'm wondering about how do we form the next, when we bring in the next people, right? How do we describe it? Like my methods, methods are more 10x Gary Vee style, right? Than maybe some other styles of working.
Right.
I'm a little bit more like, I am a perfectionist, unfortunately. But I'm also more like, it's okay. Now I've transitioned a lot in the last 2 years. It's okay, just get it out, let's get it out, right?
Oh yeah,
Versus,
much more production.
No, it has to be absolutely fucking pixel perfect, can't release it. It's
Right.
like, oh, that's gonna be a problem. This is gonna be a big problem because I personally believe in quantity and quality versus extreme quality, low quantity. Especially in the medium of social media.
Right.
So if we bring in an individual and that's in that world, like their job is related to social media and they want to post once a week, that's gonna freak me out. It's gonna literally freak me out, and it has freaked me out in the past.
As opposed to someone that comes in on maybe more of the ops and analytics side where it's like, yeah, I would like you to get all of those things as perfect as possible, and then we can do quarterly reports because different role, different need, different work style for that piece. Yeah.
So one of our core values is action. I'd rather us do things and make a mistake than not do things and then of course not make a mistake.
Right. Because
so I'll always bias toward action.
because the safer side is also the side that doesn't get anything done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I don't do anything, I won't do it wrong.
So I have to be willing to, in that regard, and I have to be willing to accept the consequences of that. So you're like, hey, I cranked out that landing page, and I look at oh my God, there's a misspelled word. But that's okay, because you got it out so fast. Thank you. Now we've got to figure out how not to do that next time.
Right.
But so awesome versus, I'm still working on that for 5 weeks, because I just want to make sure that the grammar is perfect and the commas are on the right place. Like, oh my God, what are you doing?
That is not.
I'm happy if I just don't accidentally use the same picture 3 times. Win.
So, you see what I mean? I think those things need to be communicated, and I've never done that before, and I never thought about that until recently. Like, I think there should be a conversation around methods. And what is the method inside of the company? So I would say, to answer the question, make sure you're leading with describing your vision, your mission, your purpose, your core values, start sharing that, what it would be like, ask questions to people. What would you think about an organization that does this, right? Have you ever thought about joining an organization that does this? What would you want it to look like? Get those conversations going, but then also say what is important for you in the methods in which you're working, and what do you want to do? Because it's not really a right or wrong thing here. That's the cool part.
Yes.
It's not a right or wrong.
It's just
like,
a how.
Style.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think we're talking about the standard, not the method. Like, the standard is there shouldn't be misspelled grammar mistakes. It shouldn't be a blank page. This is what we want it to look. This is what it needs to be. Here's our fonts, whatever. How you get there, as long as you get to this standard by this deadline, get it, girl. Like, that's how I feel here, and that is what I like. Is like, I can ask you guys for help if I can't figure something out, but it's not you will do it this way. Whether or not this way makes sense to me, is efficient for me to do it that way, any number of things. It's like the whole MapQuest thing is like, I don't need to read steps 1 through 5. I know how to get to the highway.
Right. That's a good
Please
point.
don't make me go through steps 1 through 5.
Right.
Totally agree. Totally great point.
Yeah, and there's certain people, just the way their mind works is like, okay, take the key out of your purse. Now put it in the door, unlock the door. Okay, now sit in your car. And it's just like, I will go crazy. I need you to, okay, you're in Denton at this point, 20 miles from home. Now go this way. Okay, thank you. That's what I needed.
She said a really funny thing the other day, which is
the penguin?
Yeah, but what's his name? Pingu.
I have no idea. I did not realize that was a thing. It was penguin.
It's a penguin cartoon. Have you not seen it? It's claymation. It's super funny.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
It's a cute
I
little
have seen,
penguin.
yes.
So Pingu's sitting there all like angry face like this. It's like, I was gonna do it, but then you told me to do it, so now I'm not gonna do it. She's like, that's so me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's a good point.
So there's another aspect to that, which is understanding the boundaries of tribe as a relation of distance between you as the founder or the originator of the venture and the people attached to it, right? So you need to worry much more about the core focus and like alignment of the people that are closest to you as the founder than the people that are much farther down the food chain, and understand that difference. Like your $10 an hour employee that is supposed to clean the office and answer the phones does not need to be aligned as much with your core tribe and purpose as the person who is running your ops.
That's a very valid point.
A lot of people waste time trying to make sure that the person paid $10 an hour is bought into the vision and everything else. And it's like, yeah, those people are probably just showing up for a job because you're not paying them enough to give a fuck about your vision.
I don't think you can pay. I don't think given any cares or whatever, it's related to dollar amount. Just for the record.
No, it's not. But at the same time, you're way less likely.
I get your point, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think those are related. I can't take someone who doesn't give a shit and pay him to all of a sudden give a shit.
No.
I think at that point, then you get the people slightly higher up than that $10. And so if they're like living the vision and breathing, they drink the Kool-Aid, those $10 an hour people are going to be like, they seem really into this. What am I missing? Should I look into it?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's
the culture.
That is the relation of the distance they are to the founder. So it's one of those things where like in a lot of management philosophy, it's starting to change, but a lot of management philosophy is you don't need to invest in the employees that are already performing to the high standards. You're supposed to invest in the people that aren't performing, which is completely the opposite, because the people that are performing to high standards, if you don't reward them, they're going to eventually leave. And the people that aren't performing to those standards, it's probably not because you're not paying them a certain amount, right? It's probably not because they don't have enough perks.
This is very typical, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you look at, one of the credit card companies. Let's just throw an example out.
Okay.
Because I think we've all experienced bad phone calls with a cable company, credit card company, a flight attendant, something of that nature, right? So you would say they're probably one of the lowest paid out of the organization.
Yeah, the person that's on that phone call.
Sure.
Yeah.
The person on the phone or the person giving you drinks is not paid the same as the pilot or the executives and so forth.
Yes.
Right? But they're the front line with what they're actually. I don't deal with the CEO of American Airlines. Never met him.
Yes.
Never had dinner with him.
Or her.
I don't deal with it. He doesn't deal with my bags and my flights or my water, right? But I deal with the flight attendants.
Yes.
So the flight attendants aren't bought into, our clients need to have the best flight experience. That's a direct impact on me. So I know you said the $10 an hour.
But that's inside of a specific time frame that they've agreed to. What I'm talking about is for like, and that's for much bigger companies. I'm talking about for the smaller, like 0 to 50 person company. Those people would, depending on how much they're compensated and what their level of responsibility is, like at a certain dollar amount / certain responsibility level, they get to check out when the doors close. And not everybody understands that because of the cult of personality that's built around so many startups. They're like, well, you're working for the company, you're part of the vision, which means you need to always be on and be available. And it's like, no, you're not paying those people enough to care about your vision that way. If you
You're
want
not
them
paying them to own their off hours.
Yes. If you want to, then you need to compensate completely for everything.
Well, I understand, but I would say that the employees that are at the bottom of the totem pole that have bought in,
then those are, you try to select for those. Yes.
They're the ones that all of a sudden you look back and you read articles about them right now. They're like, he started off at the ground level and is now running a division or is now the CEO.
Right, but
I think it's a work ethic thing.
But that's also because in investing in that person, as you see them relate to the culture and the vision, that person then moves up.
Sure, maybe.
You can't always expect someone to take the culture, vision, and everything else to heart and carry that throughout the rest of their life and stay at the same pay scale. And this is very important. This is much more important as for like employing millennials than almost anybody else, because millennials will leave. Like they will move to any other company that will pay them similar amounts to be more aligned with whatever they want. So it's kind of the whole it's progression.
I think a real true business is driven by results.
Yes.
Not necessarily the time you've been here.
But that's what I'm saying.
School you went to.
That's also what I'm saying on that, the results piece. Like some people are really good at driving results inside a certain time frame. And if you want them to buy into your vision and culture, you have to also respect the limits of what that time frame means. That's really what I was getting to. If you pay someone to be in an office from 9 to 5, and you're paying them 15 to 20.
Nowadays, man, a lot of times they're paid to just be wherever they're at.
Yes, but in a certain time frame, you're paying them to be at work, wherever that means.
Well, I had a really interesting conversation on this recently, as I was looked to get hired as an employee. I'm like, I'm the worst employee you can have, but I'm also the best employee you can have. Like, I'll work way more than 9 to 5 if you get out of my way. But then there's some days I won't work at all.
Right.
There's a week I may not work because there's nothing to do. Instead of riding the clock, I just know that and I won't show up.
Right.
Right? And that's the entrepreneurial side. Like, just tell me what needs to get done and we will knock it out.
Get it done,
and I
yes.
will present to you new problems that I think we should be working on, which would obviously create more work for myself. All I want to have is a voice, and I want to have a vote, and I want to grow with the company. Literally, I want to grow. If the company goes public, I want to get money out of the deal. I want to feel like I belong.
That you matter.
Matters.
Yes.
Literally, that's all I want. I don't need anything else other than that, right? And I'll even take a low money up front if I can be part of the growth because I'm an investor like that.
Right.
Right?
So
I think if more people went to the job thinking about what I could do to cause results. Now, and there's a lot of companies that are just fucking stupid, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But the companies that are wanting to be smart and wanting to look out, they're like, oh my God, this person is driving results.
Yes.
That janitor, not only is everything fucking clean, but he's also picked up some sales calls where he's brought in a potential client, he's closed a deal. Hey, what's going on? What's your story?
Or
you're working hard for yourself, and we've created an environment that rewards people working hard for themselves, not just one-way street.
Exactly. So
that if you look at someone, I was at the Clyde Warren Park last night, and we went to buy pizza for the kids. 2 8-inch pizzas cost $19. Okay. So $8. Anyways, whatever. $19 in total was this pizza, right? So all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, your average person is working 2.5 to 3 hours. No, 3 hours, because you get taxed, right?
Yeah.
3 hours to afford
those pizzas.
Those 2 pizzas for a few, them and one kid even.
Right.
That is such a heavy lift on somebody who's making so little money. Right? I thought about it. that moment in time when I used to have an hourly job.
Right.
I'm not even talking about Bell Helicopter. I'm talking about when I worked at CC's. That was my first official job when I was 15 years old.
Right. Right.
CC's, and then I worked at Papados, and I worked at On the Border. And you're literally making by the minute. You can clock in, and if you nowadays you can run it on your phone. You can look at your phone and figure out how much money you made, and then you're like, oh, I just now afford
The gas that I took to get here.
or
Yeah.
I just now can go go watch a movie with my girlfriend or something. You're talking about being 3 hours, 4 hours into a work shift as a young person to be able to make that.
Well, it's like I didn't make $30 today. I made one pizza and a
That's how I started to look at things like
Yeah,
that. It's like I made that. Oh, I just now bought a pair of pants.
Yeah.
After a whole freaking day of working, and then all of it. So I remember I was like 15 or 16. I bought $140 at the time Nikes, and I thought like this is going to give me meaning in life and make me amazing, right? Obviously that doesn't work, but then I equated it to hours after the fact. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do?
This was 2 days.
It was because it was like $5.25 at the time.
Yeah.
Was my, so I worked 30 hours, 35 hours, a whole week for a pair of shoes. I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
So I course corrected the other way. I was like, I'm never buying expensive shoes. That's fucking stupid. Anyways, that's
The only reason to buy them if they might be expensive is if they will support your feet or ankles or some shit better than cheap shoes, and that's the only reason. It's not a label, and I promise you, it's not Nikes that are doing it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you buy orthopedic old lady shoes.
I don't know. I went a whole different direction. All that to end up saying, like, the hourly person, their life is challenging. And I think if you create an environment where they have the opportunity to grow and benefit themselves by putting in the extra hour of time.
And really embodying the vision.
And of course.
Yeah. No,
right?
that's what I'm saying. Like, that really, I think, is what I was trying to say. A lot of smaller companies start out wanting everyone to embody the vision and not understanding / talking to the people that are working for them and saying, okay, what is happening in your life and how can I enable you to embody the vision more, and being okay with that being like, I need to be paid more.
Watch this. The vision is the vision. A company is just a vehicle toward that vision.
Yes. And all of your...
You need to say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, and all of your employees are on a sliding scale of commitment to that vision.
Of course.
So...
Of course. But your vehicle your company is just a vehicle.
Right.
15 companies, well, let's rephrase this. Anybody who's a competitor is technically working probably toward the same vision. That's why they're competitors. So that employee can hop around to whatever vehicle suits them best.
Right.
Right? So you have to create an environment that your vehicle is the best vehicle.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's money. I don't think it's usually always money. That's what the boomers are finding, right? The
Right.
managerials are like, oh, these millennials are like, I'm throwing more money at them, and they're like, fuck off. Right? Like,
Because sometimes it doesn't align.
It doesn't align,
yes.
right? So I want to have the vision. I want to have an environment that supports my goals and supports my growth. Then they're investing in me. And at the same time, the company should be rewarding individuals that are working hard.
Yes.
Opportunities show up, training show up. Something is showing up in their lives more than just money.
Yeah.
Because if it was always just money, we would all be doing different businesses.
Yeah, of course.
I would totally be Breaking Bad all over the place.
I mean, yeah, because there's a whole aspect of if a company can be paying you they can pay you $500,000 a year, but if they don't respect your time and the space that you carved out for your family, that's probably not going to be a good situation, because that company is not respecting the level of commitment that you decided to exchange for that compensation.
Well, it's not even that. I think it's sustainability.
Right.
It's literally not sustainable to have someone at work all the time.
Right, but that's on a macro. I'm saying on a micro, just like the employee to company, company to employee, to engender more commitment and more drive toward the vision, it is good to understand what are the triggers for that person and what is important to them.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely, that's great.
I'll say this might be the whole millennial that job doesn't really jive with my desire to have a life. I think maybe that's kind of the blowback from
especially
our
when
parents'
especially when
age.
that job is low comp on that too.
Yeah.
It's like, this job is taking a lot from my life and I'm also not getting paid, so it then gets compounded, and then that person says, you know what, I'm out of this. I will go wash dishes before I have to deal with this crap.
Absolutely, and I love that.
But the kind of concept that
but then
basically
also
work
founders,
for anything.
Yeah, and a lot of founders will then say, well, that person wasn't aligned with my tribe and vision. It's like, no, you were not aligned with the needs that person had.
With normal human needs, be with your
This
family.
needs to be very, very stated. It's not that they're, like you said, it's not that they're not aligned with your vision. They think your vehicle sucks.
Yes.
Like we can all be like, we're all going to Austin,
Right.
right? I want to drive in the Lambo. I'm not so happy about the old station wagon that you can smell the exhaust in the car.
Right. Right.
It's the vehicle is, and it's your job. I think it's the job of the founders and the executive team, and obviously those in power at the time to create an environment where people can thrive inside of the environment.
Yeah. Using that example, you can give me the nicest car ever that's most comfortable, but if I don't want to drive, that's not going to help
And
me.
you don't want to go to Austin, you're not going to go.
No, I'll get on a bus. Then I don't have to drive.
Super bus or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Megabus.
That's so funny. But so recently, Jack Ma,
Alibaba founder? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he said you shouldn't even apply to work here if you're not willing to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah, good thing he set the expectations.
I mean, that's his thing.
Yeah.
But that's what he said, and it caused a little bit of uproar, but
I mean,
I'm sorry, I appreciate that he was actually honest about it, not
because
like,
Amazon wasn't that honest about it, and then people found out.
no,
they
we're
were like,
fun, we're cool, come work here.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, you're going to be worked like a slave.
yeah, no.
If
If you have kids, not anymore.
Funny enough, now in my red flag category of things that I don't want to hear from someone when they talk about partnerships and building companies together, family. Because most people treat their family terribly.
Valid point.
Treat me like
So
your
if-
esteemed
That's what I'm saying. We need to
coworker.
have a conversation around methods.
Yeah,
That should be something we talk about in a future show. Like, what is the methods here?
we are like 15
That can be
minutes over.
that can fall under systems.
Okay, we definitely should have a part 2 of this. Like, there's this conversation and I think the money conversation are like, we definitely should. be
You're
tag teaming
welcome
that
for me
more.
breaking these things down individually because we can go for way longer than an hour, obviously.
I
Yeah.
don't hear anything you're saying. I'm just admiring your purple hair. So, what'd you say?
Go to the just rewatch the tape. You'll figure it out.
Well, thank everybody for being part of our show and all the questions. And this was awesome. This was great. And we're going to follow this up with a conversation, I think, about methods. Is that what kind of we said? There's so many different parts.
I said, well, methods can fall under systems because that is a process for getting something done, which is your method. Yes, I'm gonna put that as a little earmark for the day we talk about methods.
I love it.
You're welcome.
So check us out. Our website is thekinetexperience.com, and you'll find all our social links there. So we're active on YouTube, and we're active on Instagram, and of course Facebook. And on YouTube, you'll have access to our Becoming Da Vinci show, which is where Jannica and I, and we interview people, or sometimes we talk ourselves, about the traits of Leonardo da Vinci and about different things about his life. So it's not a historical show only at all. It's actually looking at the life of Leonardo da Vinci and getting inspiration from his traits, so creativity, imagination, curiosity, innovation, being a self-directed learner, misfit rebel, things like that, and then how those are being applied by people today that are changing the world, or having just this, having a really successful career, or really doing amazing things with their children, so forth. So my name's Abe Nadimi. Thank you for being part of our show.
Emily Francis.
Stephen Ellis.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys.
Da, da, da. So I had Rejuvenate
Are we offline?
scheduled for tomorrow.
We're not offline
That's
yet.
okay. People can hear what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
Sure. Go ahead.
I had Rejuvenate down, but I can switch it to systems/methods
No,
tomorrow
that's
if you
fine.
want.
No, don't change it.
Okay.
No, it was just a